What's going on, you guys? My name's Ty Knots and welcome to Top 5 Unknowns, 5 unbelievable Tinder horror stories. Number 5. Last summer, I met this girl who seemed pretty normal for a quick coffee date. She wasn't exactly the prettiest girl ever, but I'm no looker either, so it wasn't a problem. So we were supposed to grab coffee, but the date started with her shopping for purses in a luxury shop for about an hour, while I just stood there playing with my phone. I know I should have just left right then and there, but I'm actually quite patient with people, so I just hung around. Eventually we got to the coffee shop. During the actual date portion of this, she proceeded to monologue on about religion, her family's money, her exes, her dream wedding, and her future. Now, I'm from a pretty left-leaning country myself, but that was one too many red flags for me, so I gently turned her down. To my surprise, she refused my rejection and said that it had to be a joint decision. After arguing about my rejection, I pretty much just ran away. She called me at midnight the same day and told me that I had to go on a second date. Luckily, I was literally leaving the continent the next day for a few weeks. She called me about 10 times during my trip and sent me 20 messages trying to set up the next date. She still texts me every once in a while and I'm still kind of afraid of her. Number 4. I had a Tinder date with a famous chef where I was taken to a dive bar where he promptly started talking about how famous he was. We drank and watched sports and he proceeded to tell me that I was cute, and this eventually led to him saying, "I'm going to make you bleed." He then invited one of his friends to come along. I went outside and he came up to kiss me. I was drunk, so I just kissed him back. Eventually, he proceeded to tell me that he was being charged with battering his ex-girlfriend, but he totally didn't do it. Eventually, when it came time to pay the bill, he supposedly lost his wallet. Of course, he told me I'll pay you back, but needless to say, I never got that payment. He then leaned up against me. I thought he was going to try to kiss me again, but I looked down and he was peeing on me. In the street, peeing on me. Swiftly, being too inebriated to drive, I ran down the road and just found the nearest hotel room and got a hot shower. I'll never use Tinder again. Number 3. A man and a woman speak on Tinder for about 6 months before deciding to go on a date. He picks her up for dinner, but he starts to feel a bit sick and takes her home. On the way home, she starts feeling a bit better and asks him if he wants to come in for tea, so he agrees. When they finally get home, she starts feeling sick again, so he agrees to just leave and she goes to bed. She wakes up in the middle of the night and can hear noises downstairs. She calls the police, but when they arrive, they tell her that the door was locked and that she should be okay. She insists that they knock on her door and take a look, so they do and find the guy in her house. After initially refusing to show her what they found, the police decided to comply. Her flat had been entirely covered in plastic and there was a saw and hammer on the floor. After a drug test, police found that the woman had so many drugs in her system that she shouldn't even have been conscious. Supposedly, the guy had drugged the woman, stolen her keys, and planned on leaving and letting himself back in later on, then taking her life while she slept. Number 2. I met this girl on Tinder. Things were going nicely, so we met up for a cup of coffee. I've been on a few Tinder dates before, and it's always awkward when two people meet in such a context. But with this girl in particular, we got along almost instantly. We had things in common, conversation was easy, and it was pretty nice. At one point, she set down her coffee as I was talking and brushed her hair to the side and looked me straight in the eye. She smiled, and I smiled back. As I continued to talk, I pulled out my phone to show her something, and I guess she didn't realize I could totally still see her. But she took my looking down as an opportunity to quickly shove her fingers down her throat to trigger her gag reflex. 4 seconds later, I'm drenched in this girl's vomit head to toe. I'm sitting there in shock, trying to figure out what just happened. She apologized and asked if I was okay. I told her no and picked myself up and started dragging myself off to the bathroom to wash up. When I got back, she was gone and I never heard from her again. Number 1. My sophomore year in college, I was talking to a girl that went to a university about an hour away. After a few months, she invited me to her 21st birthday to go out with her friends. She said there was going to be a big party and that I had to come. So I decided to make the trip with 2 of my fraternity brothers. We show up to the party and it's only my Tinder girl and her 2 roommates and no one else in sight. It's extremely awkward because the 2 roommates weren't going out or drinking that night, so me and my buddies are just trying to make the best of it. We try to start beer pong, flip cup, quarters, you name it. But I kid you not, the birthday girl doesn't play because drinking games are supposedly illegal. My jaw dropped to the floor and I knew that I had messed up. So me and my brothers hit up our fraternity's chapter at this university and they tell us that we're welcome to come over. After some convincing, we managed to get my Tinder girl to come along with us. As we're walking, the Tinder girl sees cops and flips out, saying that we're going to get in trouble and that we need to head back. Keep in mind she just turned 21 and we have nothing to worry about. But regardless, I just took her home. Things start to heat up and I'm beginning to think this wasn't so bad after all, but I was wrong. She informs me that she's on her period and refuses anything further than making out. She tells me that she can do a little trick for me that'll make me happy. I have no idea what she's talking about, but I tell her to go for it. She then proceeds to lick me from one ear, under my neck, all the way to the other ear in the most unsexy manner ever. I'm just left sitting there with slobber all over me. The licking proceeds even after I tell her that she can stop, and my friends drunkenly stumble in hours later from the party. I ran out as fast as I could. The strangest part is that after such a blatant rejection, she still texted me about 2 months later, asking if we were going to be boyfriend and girlfriend. We hadn't even spoken in weeks. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.